and welcome to Moms on a Mission. Today, we have our favorite doctor back on with us. It's Dr. Jim Meehan with MeehanMD.com. And I just love his motto, to be the scientist of your own health. So important. And I think we realized during COVID, a lot of the traditional, conventional medicines and medical advice that we once depended on so greatly
and blindly trusted,
it pretty much failed us.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to have Dr. Jim Meehan back on today. Hello, Dr. Meehan.
Hello, Moms on a Mission. I love what you're talking about. It's so important, and that's the best thing about the pandemic is that people are waking up to the fraud, the corruption, the pseudoscience, the brainwashing and indoctrination of many doctors. I hate to say it. That's what's happening from the first day of medical school to the last day of a physician's practice. They're just, they're listening and not verifying. You've got to do your own research. You can't believe everything that we're being told, and becoming a scientist of your own health is empowering. It teaches you that you're going to be able to control your health. You're going to be able to stay as far away from this broken, expensive healthcare system as you possibly can.
I like to call it a medical industrial complex because
that's exactly what
it is.
It's a cash cow that they're using with, not just COVID, but now transgenderism. I mean, it's just a money-making machine. So
I want to have one quick update. This is a fun update because I'm scientist of my own health, but scientist of my own food. So I've been growing a garden. Was inspired by Dr. Meehan, I think our very first visit. So I've harvested a few things. So
I love it. That's so important.
Cucumbers. I still need to bring a picture. Lots of cucumbers. I need to bring you one if you like them.
Yeah.
And then squash, yellow squash. And I've got acorn squash growing. My tomatoes, I think I need to start a little earlier. And then I have 2 eggplants, and I love eggplants. So I'm really excited. So thank you, Dr. Meehan.
This is one of the most important things that I think you can do, especially when you start to learn that a part of what's destroying people's health is they're eating this produce that is grown in soil that's depleted of most of its nutrients. Most of the microbiome of that soil has been destroyed by the herbicides and pesticides. So that produce, those cucumbers and squash and tomatoes, when they come in, they're tough, but they will have so much more nutrient density, 20, 30 times the nutrient density you'll find in everything else. And the other thing is your kids will love the taste. And grandkids, my grandkids will eat, cherry tomatoes like they're grapes. They're so much more delicious. But that's rule number 1 is get really nutrient dense food, grow it yourself so you can trust that it's not being sprayed with Roundup and atrazine.
I've been very protective of my vegetables.
Yeah, that's so good. Well, I was a scientist of my own health, and I made an appointment to see you a couple of weeks ago. And I'm very excited. And that's what we're going to talk about today. When in my visit with Dr. Meehan, we talked about thyroidism and thyroid issues and problems. And we talked about the synthetic, chemical derivatives that I've taken for probably 16 years, just the pharmacy. And I didn't know any different. And then I find out that there are other more natural options that literally no one has ever told me till I met Dr. Meehan. So I just started that a few days ago. I'm very excited about that. But so we just thought it would be kind of cool to talk about those issues with thyroid.
Well, thyroid is one of the major metabolic organ systems, endocrine system that's very, very important. When it's not working well, here's the things that you're going to start to see. And I'm going to teach you the things that you can do to kind of measure and monitor your thyroid activity by checking your body temperature, for example, and your pulse. So the thyroid can, one of the functions of the thyroid is to regulate your body temperature. If your body temperature is running, you go to the doctor or you check it at home and your body temperature is more than a degree below its normal 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit, then your thyroid is not up. It's not doing the work that it needs to do to maintain that optimal body temperature. So that's one of the first things that people can use to measure and monitor. But I am kind of ahead of myself. Let's talk about how common hypothyroidism or hyperthyroidism, high or low functioning. Probably one of the most common maladies is low thyroid function. And there's lots of reasons for that. Most of it comes back to the food supply, the poisons that, the pesticides, herbicides, and in fact, the fluoride in our water here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, we add more fluoride to the water than the national average. You should be. Wow. And fluoride dramatically, it basically interferes with thyroid hormone production. So you got to, a lot of people's problem could be this, how we let an industry, the aluminum mining industry, dispose of a waste product, the fluoride, and this very toxic byproduct of the aluminum mining industry. We allow them to get away with, deceiving someone into believing that should be something that we put into our water to protect our teeth. It's nonsense. It's another example of the fraud, corruption, and pseudoscience that is just so rampant in big industry and the medical and dental establishment in this situation. But filter your fluoride. Make sure that you're filtering that out of our water supply, because if you don't, you have to specifically have, for most reverse osmosis systems, you have to have a fluoride filter. For your Berkey system, or if people know what the Berkey water filtration system is, you can get those white fluoride filters to put into that to make sure that you're getting that fluoride out of your water, so that it's not impacting not only your thyroid function, but the brain health, the intellectual development of your children, because studies have shown that fluoride exposure, and especially the levels that we're seeing in the world today, in the United States in particular, it's diminishing IQ and mental function by inhibiting that neural development. So, but thyroid is such an important metabolic system. It's going to control your body temperature, your metabolism, every cell system in your body, kind of like your sex hormones are water to that garden. Thyroid's a big part of that. It's like the sunlight to that garden. It's really important to your cellular health. If it's not working well, here's the things that you'll notice, ladies, men and women. But if you're noticing that your lateral eyebrows, like the lateral eyebrows, are starting to thin, that can be a sign that your thyroid is under functioning. It's starting to diminish its ability to maintain some of that hair growth and normal development. If you're starting to, and the classic signs are, you're very sensitive to cold. You're wearing a sweater when everybody else is wearing a t-shirt. You're cold in the middle of summer setting outside. You're really sensitive to cold. That can be a sign that your thyroid is underperforming. Everybody can look up the many symptoms: weight gain, dietary or satiety changes. Certain foods don't satiate you anymore. Brain fog. I mean, it's implicated in so many systems. It's a supporting system with your sex hormones. So if thyroid's really poorly functioning, your sex hormone system won't function well as well. And if your sex hormones are off and low, deficient, your thyroid won't work as well. I often will tell patients, if we've identified a significant deficiency in your sex hormones and your thyroid, we'll treat the sex hormones first. The thyroid will improve from that treatment, and vice versa, but they work together. These systems are interrelated. I think the biggest thing, though, that I tell people is how you can measure and monitor it at home. You don't have to rely on a blood test. The blood test is useful, but the thyroid is a very complex system. I can't look at just one lab panel. And by the way, if you're going to look at your thyroid, you look at more than just TSH. Thyroid stimulating hormone, TSH, is what most doctors will check, and that alone, that will miss the probably 40% of thyroid disorders. TSH is the pituitary hormone. When your brain is in this feedback loop, when your brain is sensing your thyroid hormone levels as that thyroid hormone floats by in the bloodstream, the brain is sensing that. If your thyroid is very low, the brain will communicate with the pituitary gland and say, I want you to send out a very powerful signal. I want you to yell at the thyroid to stimulate it to do a better job. We need more thyroid production, so your TSH will be high. But there's all these other systems in your thyroid that I think should be evaluated. You need to look at the actual two primary thyroid hormones, T3 and T4. So you should look at those as free T3 and free T4 in the lab panel. But you also have to look at one called reverse T3. Reverse T3 is kind of the mirror image of the active thyroid hormone T3. T3 is your active hormone. That's the one that's going to bind to the thyroid hormone receptor in your cells and do most of the work. But sometimes your body will produce reverse T3 at extraordinary levels when the thyroid's under attack, when it's been, you have a autoimmune attack on the thyroid and it's really pouring out thyroid hormone into the bloodstream. Sometimes reverse T3 will start to manifest because what it does is it'll bind to and block the thyroid hormone receptor. You want to know where that reverse T3 is, at least when you're having problems and maybe the first time that you test your thyroid hormones. And then you should, especially in women between around the age of about 35 to 45, that might have some symptoms of low or high thyroid function, you want to look at thyroid antibodies. It's a very common cause of thyroid disorders there's been a triggering of autoimmune attack on your thyroid. I think a lot of that begins in the gut. It begins with disruption of the gut microbiome, that important ecosystem. You eat some glyphosate contaminated food, some genetically modified corn chips and a plate of nachos, that hits your gut, kills the good bacteria, starts a leaky gut syndrome. When you start leaking, peptides, sequences of amino acids, undigested food, the contents of your GI system should not be entering the tissues around that GI system. But when it starts leaking and that happens, you can start, some of those peptides that are leaking into the gut wall will trigger the immune system to start attacking it because they're too big. They're not supposed to be there. Looks like an invader. Your immune system then creates antibodies against it. And sometimes those peptides match what might be in your connective tissue. So you get the joint pains or the thyroid and you get Hashimoto's thyroiditis, some autoimmune attack on your thyroid function. So you want to look at
Dr. Meehan. I'm sorry, just for a second, guys. This is a question I wanted to ask you real quick. So, in most traditional practices, and we go to our normal MD. I'm calling you exceptional, the exceptional MD. You're gonna test for all these things, like you said, T3, T4, T2, then the thyroid
reverse
antibodies,
T3.
Reverse T3. Okay, and then, but most of the time when you go to the doctor, are they just looking at TSH and going from that? I just want people to be aware of what they should be getting from their doctor and what they're not getting.
Yeah. So they're ordering just TSH. And why is that? Well, one of the reasons, and because it's not that much more expensive to do the full panel, but one of the reasons is because most physicians work for hospitals who own the insurance companies, and they're all trying to make money, and they're more concerned with making money than they are with getting the optimal panel for elucidating, a thyroid disorder, perhaps.
So how does that make them more money to just test for the TSH and not the others?
Especially in kind of a managed care system. So you take a managed care capitated system like Community Care in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So that's a system where there's a set amount of money per patient that goes into into the pool of money that will be distributed to hospitals and physicians. They every dollar spent in the care of that patient takes away from that lump sum that's given to the hospital system. So they have a tendency in these, and specifically it's capitated managed care systems, which is a very, the majority of a lot of the insurance out there. They're watching the dollars. That's why you get all these denials. The insurance company, even on top of that, you have the insurance companies that are controlling those costs in their interest, so they make more money. So they pick your pocket every month of $500, $600, $700, $1,200, depending on your insurance. They take that out of your paycheck every month, and that goes into a big giant pool. Healthy people like you don't spend very much of that money because you're paying for the care of everybody else. But that's why they'll deny a special test. They may not even pay. Many insurances may not even pay for a reverse T3 or a free T3 and free T4. That's why we get your doctors often get calls from the insurance company saying, we're not going to pay for that. If you order that, or you might get a letter that says you're going to be responsible for the payment of these because we have denied their claim. That's more and more of that's going on. That's another completely broken part of the system. But it's all about money is why they don't often order kind of the optimal panel to, take that snapshot into your thyroid function to see what's going on. Now, let's say this, let's back up. They're not just doing TSH. They should be asking you about the symptoms.
Yeah.
Are you losing hair? Is your body temperature cooler than normal? Are you gaining weight? Are you, sensitive to temperature changes and cold or hot? Is your pulse faster or slower than your baseline? Is your hair, skin, and nails changing in their texture, et cetera? So they'll ask about the symptoms. And I think the symptoms are so much more important than the lab test anyway. The lab test just helps us to start to see, where the problem might be. Is it, do you have antibodies? Is it an autoimmune attack on your thyroid? Okay, well, that's going to clue me in to say we're going to have to work on the gut microbiome because that's probably where it's starting. Is it, have you had a history of Epstein-Barr virus? Are there other things that might be triggering an autoimmune attack on your body and your thyroid, like Epstein-Barr, this virus that lives latent in the body and reactivates and flares periodically? So we're trying to find out what is the cause of the thyroid. What I tell a lot of people, I like to get a baseline to begin with. But then I teach you about the symptoms. Become a scientist, your own health. I teach you about the symptoms to watch for, that, and then even how to objectively measure it. So measuring your body temperature. I say, take your body temperature first thing in the morning before you roll out from underneath the covers. Take that body temperature. I would use an old-fashioned glass thermometer if possible, because the fancy little electronic ones, they actually will say in their specifications plus or minus 1 degree.
Wow.
So they can be off. Yeah, they can be off a significant amount, and thus, you kind of, it'll confuse the picture. But if you wake up in the morning, your body temperature is 97.2, 96.5, more than a degree below 98.6, you probably have some thyroid issues. So do that 4 or 5 days, send the data in to me or to your doctor and discuss it with your doctor. And then make a list of the symptoms that you're experiencing. You can look up hypothyroidism online and see what those are and make a list of those and bring it to your doctor. And that should stimulate a deeper discussion and maybe treatment.
Can we talk about really quickly the difference between taking Synthroid and then that
Sure.
version that you gave me? I've been on it for a few days and I'm like, I've never heard of this, but
yeah. So there's two, the original form of thyroid that was administered to patients going back hundreds of years was natural desiccated porcine thyroid. The pig thyroid, porcine thyroid is equivalent to human thyroid. The thyroid has the same compounds essentially that the human thyroid has. So what in the old days they would do is desiccate, harvest the thyroid from healthy pigs, desiccate it, and provide it in a kind of a powdered format. Well, that form has not only that desiccated porcine thyroid has not just one. Synthroid is just T4. T4 is one of the 4 thyroid molecules that your body produces. T4 is in fact not the active form of thyroid. T4 has to be chemically changed to activate it and change it into T3, which is the active form of thyroid that's going to bind to the receptors. So that most people are getting Synthroid, this commercial form of T4. Now, there's lots of it requires coenzyme Q10. If you're on a statin drug, for example, statins, the most commonly prescribed drug in the world, will deplete your body of coenzyme Q10. If you're on statins and you can start to get a low thyroid function. It's one of the long-term side effects of statins. One of the reasons I don't like statins and recommend against them. But you need that coenzyme Q10 to activate T4 to T3. If you don't have a great diet, if your health's not great, you probably don't have enough coenzyme Q10. A lot of people are getting Synthroid and their doctor's not paying any attention to that laboratory panel. They're not seeing, oh, well, T4 is in the normal range, but T3, there's no conversion. You're not getting the active thyroid. They're not teaching you to measure your body temperature. So nobody knows what's going on. You're just taking a medication and it's not effective. Here's the other thing that I think a lot of doctors make the mistake of is they treat you with Synthroid. There is a commercial form of T3, the active form of thyroid called Cytomel. Some docs prescribe both of them, which is closer to better. But let me loop back around and finish up on the porcine thyroid. The reason I use it is because the clinical studies have shown patient preference to the natural desiccated thyroids. There's a number of studies that have done this. In my own experience over 27 years, and I'm a thyroid patient since I diagnosed my pituitary trauma. I have found that nothing works better than natural desiccated thyroid for me. I've seen it in my patients. I've seen it as they measure their body temperatures, their satisfaction. I've tried both in all combinations, and just like the clinical trials have shown, the natural desiccated thyroids just outperform the commercial synthetics. They just get a lot more pharmaceutical rep time and free meals to, hot meals delivered to the doctor's office.
Can you tell me about the half-life too? Like you didn't feel like the pharmaceutical version of the Synthroid, that the levels weren't as even?
Yeah. So here's the thing about dosing. Most thyroid should be dosed twice a day. It should be first thing in the morning, about 10 to 12 hours later, because everything in medicine and pharmacology is about the half-life, how quick it goes up, what peak level it goes up to, and how long it lasts in the body. So the mechanics of and what we would call the pharmacodynamics of the drug will tell you really how you should dose it. Most doctors are dosing that Synthroid once a day, Cytomel once a day. Some docs do the natural desiccated once a day. The problem with that is you're spending about 6 to 10 hours of every day back in a low thyroid state. Most people are. When we looked at patients where they agreed to have their blood levels measured every hour for 24 to 48 hours, this is what we found, that Synthroid, Cytomel, et cetera, they look great when you do your laboratory testing, because you usually do it in the morning. You're testing in that therapeutic window when the levels are optimal and in the peak, but nobody's testing you at midnight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., when we find that that's when you're back in spending 1/3 of your day in a hypothyroid state. It's not optimal.
Pay somebody a lot of money to test them at midnight. I know you have to pay me a lot to test.
That's why you're going to become the scientist.
Yeah, right.
Yes. Yeah.
That I took a picture of myself with one of Dr. Meehan's nurses took a picture of me, Jill, in front of that sign, "Become a scientist of your own health," because all these things you're saying. I mean, I didn't know that T3 was the one that we should be using, and that T4, the Synthroid, was converted into T3 and then reverse T, like all these things. This is new. And I just feel like there are women and probably men as well out there that have thyroid issues. And definitely like, I never thought that I could take my temperature.
No,
and
no one had educated you.
Yeah, that I
No.
could do that. I thought I just had to wait for my annual or whatever it was appointment to check my levels. So I just think this information is really critical. And I love the fact that you're not afraid of working yourself out of a job. I mean, if people can, eat better, and if they can get rid of some of these disease states and diminish them, like type 2 diabetes, we could talk about that next time.
Oh, yeah, we've got a lot of topics.
I mean, you can definitely eliminate the type 2 version with diet and exercise. And I love that you're pursuing longevity and health and really being a scientist of your own health and not just popping pills and pushing pills.
That's right. You can prevent all of this, ladies.
Yeah.
You can optimize your health to a point where you won't see a doctor for the rest of your life.
Oh, I love the sound of that.
I really love the sound of that.
We got to work towards that. Well, I want to back up just a little bit in the beginning so we can leave our audience and go to your website and maybe leave them with some products that they might want to try. So what I would ask, you said, to kind of maybe before you get to the point where you have hypothyroid, to have a healthy thyroid, to promote healthy thyroid. Yeah. One of the things you said was to, avoid the fluoride in the water, to get, a filter to filter out the fluoride. And there's maybe too much copper in the water or in other places that we're getting that. I'm not sure exactly where we get that. And then of course, working on gut biome, that would help as well. Am I on the right track there? And
you are, and you're bringing up a really important point that I kind of realized that I missed a very important point. One of the reasons that many people's thyroid doesn't work well is that they are not getting enough iodine in their diet. And especially if you're kind of landlocked, like we are here in Oklahoma, if you don't live on the coast where you're exposed to more iodine seafood, maybe eating some seaweed salads, where you're getting that all important iodine. So they added iodine to the salt to help prevent that cretinism and thyroid deficiency in developing children. And that's about our only source for iodine for a lot of people. Iodine is a critical element in thyroid function. So, but it's not just iodine by itself. And in fact, replacing iodine is a bit tricky. So it's a low dose. It's too much, and too much or too little too much can be just as bad. Mm-hmm. So the product that I use here, as someone that has a low thyroid function, is called Optimal Thyroid Plus. It's in fact, it's on my desk right here because I take it twice a day.
Oh, there you go. Okay, hold on. Can I find this under the supplements? Because I was showing.
Yes. Yeah, it's on our, it's on, go to meehanmd.com and click on.
Yeah, we're there.
We're there.
And maybe
under
just go
supplements.
Maybe the lookup window where you are.
Yeah. And you could probably just type in thyroid and you'll get a list of all the supplements, but you'll find Optimal Thyroid Plus in that supplement list, because what's in that, and I'll talk as you guys look for that, but what's in that is not only the iodine at the right dose, but the cofactors that your thyroid needs to make that iodine work. One of those is selenium. Another is an amino acid called tyrosine. We private label the Designs for Health product. That is, I think Designs for Health is one of the best formulators on the planet. They have they're like a 5-star chef. They put the right ingredients together in the right proportions and ratios so that the thyroid can take those raw materials and turn them into T3, T4, and T2 and T1. And by the way, that's why one of the reasons that I use the natural desiccated thyroids the most is because they also provide T1 and T2, which none of the commercial products do. T1 through T4, plus all the cofactors that are found naturally in the thyroid, you get from things like NP thyroid, Armor thyroid, Westroid. There's various numbers, or various different brands out there.
I'm looking at what's in here. I should have looked at this a long time ago, clearly, because like American ginseng root, just all these things that I've heard you talk about. And then the iodine is here. Wow. copper.
Yeah, it's
American
a
ginseng.
really well balanced, perfectly formulated for the thyroid. For a lot of people, that may and that's usually step number one. You don't even need a prescription. Step number one is make sure your thyroid is getting the nutrients that it need. Our body is this immensely complex system that needs a lot of raw materials to be able to function. And it's just like we were talking about growing your own food, nutrient dense food instead of nutrient deficient food. The problem that most people have is they're eating this nutrient deficient food that didn't ripen in soil that was rich in nutrients, and it's just empty. And they don't have the raw materials that their body needs to turn into thyroid hormone, your sex hormones and neurotransmitters and all of that immense complexity. It's crazy how most people are just running on empty. They're stuffing their face.
Well, they're running on
and
caffeine.
their belly's full of trash.
Yeah,
but their
caffeine.
cells are starving for nutrients.
Yeah. And I think that's why I gave up caffeine a year and a half ago, simply because I felt like I was band-aiding my problems, my sleep, my fatigue. And, you are tired, and well, why are you tired? Oh, just drink a couple cups of coffee and get on with your day.
Right.
I really wanted to know, why am I tired? And if I keep masking it with caffeine and these other things, then, I'm always
well said
deficient. So I didn't want to mask it anymore. And I wanted to get to the root of the problem.
You're right. Well,
from your body.
The real mass, the real band-aid, the dangerous ones are when, your thyroid is running on empty, your sex hormones are running on empty, you can't produce the neurotransmitters, you're depressed. Now you're painful, inflamed, you're morbidly, you're gaining weight. That then you get a pill for every one of those symptoms from the medical, and that just drives you deeper into the sickness, quite honestly, makes you dependent. That's the real problem. Masking with a little bit of caffeine. Listen, I can justify caffeine, a good coffee any day of the week. It's got antioxidants in it, phytonutrients. I can justify it a little bit. Everything in moderation.
A little bit. Listen to him.
Yeah, but I cannot justify antidepressant medications.
Right.
I can't justify anxiety medications. Those are being prescribed because doctors don't want to deal with the dietary problems, the lifestyle issues, the targeted supplementation. In fact, many doctors will, they know nothing about nutrition, or we get a couple of weeks, 2.5 weeks, if I recall, from medical school training. Completely awful. Completely inadequate.
Dietary problems is what facilitates the complex, right? The medical industrial complex, and that cash cow of the pharmaceutical industry, which I used to work, as you know, with your wife. We used to compete against each other.
Saved you out of that.
Yes. Kathy Meehan and Miriam. We saved.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, you don't know what you don't know. And that's why I love talking.
We're still learning.
You. Yeah.
We're learning a lot every time we talk to you.
And being a hormone expert, endocrinologist, and knowing these things. And I love how you explained in other shows where you delved into this, because you had, problems in this area as well. So I encourage everybody to go to meehanmd.com and go to the wellness site. Yes. And if they type in code MISSION, they will get a discount. And so I encourage you to do that. Go to meehanmd.com and at least try this thyroid, optimal thyroid complex, and just try that and see how you're feeling with that, and take your temperature.
Yeah, I was saying,
in the morning.
Exactly. Yeah, I was just going to say, this is the action step. Just simply measure your body temperature first thing in the morning for 4 or 5 days. If you're seeing a pattern of your body temperature lower than 97.6, get some iodine, get some thyroid, optimal thyroid plus, get that in your body, give it a couple of weeks to really start providing the raw materials to restart that complex system of your thyroid. And you may see a lot of your symptoms start to disappear, your body temperature start to rise. You can objectively now evaluate yourself. And again, you didn't need a doctor in any of that, right? You just needed an over-the-counter supplement, and you needed a thermometer, and you needed the knowledge. And that's what I want to do, is I just want to give you that knowledge.
And so if somebody lives out of state and they're listening and they hear this, Can they have an appointment with you like over the phone?
Absolutely.
Video?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm licensed to practice medicine in about 37 states now. And I do so. I'm a super specialist. I can help with almost anything, almost anywhere.
Wow.
And so, yeah, call me, sign up at meehanmd.com. You can just go right to the website, meehanmd.com. And we'll, if you do nothing else, sign up for the newsletter. It's really valuable. It's good stuff. You'll learn how to become a scientist.
And Julie will tell you how her appointment is tomorrow.
Yeah, I can't wait tomorrow.
Yeah.
Stay tuned because next time we will talk.
Yeah, we'll see you back in a couple.
You're going to have some real testimonies coming here, folks.
Yeah. And I'll be on my hormones, so I won't be tired anymore. So
you're going to have energy to
yes, that's right.
Well, Dr. Meehan, thanks for joining us today. And we will have you back on in a couple of weeks, and we've got lots of topics to cover. Right. We'll never run out of topics.
Yeah, we'll never run out of topics. That's true.
No.
God bless you guys.
Thanks so much. And audience, thanks so much for joining us today. We want to hear from you. So go to moms@momsonamission.net, moms@momsonamission.net. Leave us a line. If you have questions for Dr. Meehan, I know we could pass those along to him. I know we'd
tell
love
us
to help.
If you try the Optimal Thyroid Plus. I hope you do 2 capsules once a day. Try it and tell us how it's going.
Yeah, exactly. And then also go to our website, momsonamission.net. That's momsonamission.net. You'll get information and our latest episodes, and who knows what we might have on there. Something special. You never know. Keep looking, keep checking.
Yes.
And then please follow us on your favorite platform. Moms on a Mission is excited to partner with our friends at MyPillow. According to sleep experts and sleephealth.org, over 50 million Americans struggle to get a good night's rest. That's where MyPillow comes in. They make the best pillows, sheets, mattresses, and mattress toppers. Several years ago, I was having trouble falling and staying asleep due to neck and shoulder pain. Luckily, I heard an ad about MyPillow and decided to give it a try. After 3 or 4 days, I really began to feel a difference. I was sleeping better and my neck and shoulders felt so much better. MyPillow really does help you fall asleep faster and stay asleep longer. Moms on a Mission wants you to get a great night's rest too. Go to mypillow.com right now and use the promo code MISSION for up to 66% off your purchase. MyPillow products are made in America and have a 60-day money-back guarantee and lifetime warranty. Remember, go to mypillow.com, put in the special code MISSION for your special Moms on a Mission discount. Thank you and God bless.
Hey guys, it's Moms on a Mission here. Are you worried about your financial stability and protecting the money for which you work so hard? The problem is stock market volatility and inflation. You may be wondering what you can do to preserve your family's wealth. We at Moms on a Mission encourage you to reach out to our friend Andrew Sorcini with Beverly Hills Precious Metals. Andrew is the expert in educating you to help you find the right balance of gold and silver for your family portfolio. He made it so easy for me to add precious metals to my financial investments. I simply mailed a check to Beverly Hills Precious Metals and my silver showed up on my doorstep a few days later. It was so easy. Go to bh-pm.com to save a little money and tell them that Moms on a Mission sent you. That's bh-pm.com. Don't wait. Protect your wealth today by going to bh-pm.com and tell them that Moms on a Mission sent you.